guide that is, told us that Anne of Green Gables is required reading in Japan. There was a movie on it, and it's been on TV. It just never appealed to me, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, we got a net here coming in about 15 minutes. It's what we call Skynet. And we talk about astronomy and stuff. It's ham radio operators that are also either amateur astronomers or interested in astronomy. And let's see, that gets going here in about minutes. And, you know, we sure like you to stick around. And if you're at all interested about astronomical stuff, VE1J, is that Nancy? November, Nancy Bravo, Kilo Golf 5, Papa.
Yeah, no, I'd definitely love to hang out and chat. It's just about 11 o'clock coming on to 11 o'clock here, so I may doze off. We're just got the trailer out this weekend, so last hurrah for the kids. And I got the radio here as sitting in the trailer on our bunk and just hanging out, connecting to the Echolink. So, but I do love astronomy. I have a little telescope and love looking at the stars. So I'd love to tune in and hear what you have to say. But I may doze off. So if I do, hopefully the link will come down. But I'd love to hear from more on it. My call sign again is Victor Echo 1, Julia Mike Bravo. My initials, John M. Bignell. And yeah, I'd love to hang out.
And Juliet Mike Bravo. Yeah, name here is Mike. Although if you look me up in the call book, it'll be Richard, middle initial Michael, middle initial M. I go by my middle name. Don't ask me why. I'm too old and wouldn't serve any purpose to change it. Yeah, we have a lot of astronomers here. In fact, next week, actually on first week of November, I'll be going to El Dorado, Texas, and there's a star party down there where we have some dark skies. Here in Dallas, of course, we don't have dark skies. Although when I was up at Prince Edward Island, I did see Mercury, which you don't often see. It was right at sunset, and of course it was right over the water, looking toward the west, and so I had a good shot of sunset. So I did get to see Mercury, you know, right close to the sun at sunset.
Yeah, no, that's, I guess we don't appreciate our night skies here. It's something, we have the big city of Halifax, which isn't that huge, under a million people, and most of rural Nova Scotia is pretty dark, and even our national park, Kejimkujik, which is in the western end of the province, it's a dark sky preserve, so we limit light exposure to that whole region, and it's a beautiful place. And some really great viewing areas for astronomy, and they have a whole platform set up there, what they call the Sky Circle. And you can set up your telescopes and engage the sky, and it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, and it's really dark.
And when we have to go outside of Dallas, well, some places you don't have to go too far, but typically we go like to the Davis Mountains, which is southwest Texas, and that's about 600 miles. And we have a Texas Star Party there. That's every year in May, and then the fall one coming up, where we get the fall constellations, will be at El Dorado. Okay, well, we got the net starting here in a couple minutes, but yeah, stick around if you're interested. And they take Echolink check-ins and everything, so you know we'd love to have you. I don't know how many check-ins will be tonight because we got this tech net on the hill, which is at Flagpole Hill in Dallas. They do this every year. I didn't make it this year, but it's, you know, they have presentations of different kinds, and you know, the public comes in and gets to see what ham radio is all about.
Sounds great. I'll stand by and then tune in. I got a little Cestron Spectron telescope, and it's been another one of my hobbies and a lot of fun for the family and the kids. And everyone loves looking at the moon and all the stars and the constellations. It's great evening fun, and we always when we go camping, we always bring the telescope. So yeah, I'd love to tune in and hear what you guys have to say. I'll be here on the side. This is Victor Echo 1, Julie Mike Bravo.
Well, Victor Echo 1, Julie Mike Bravo. Okay, well, I'll QRT here for about 5 minutes, and then we'll start up Skynet. There's also a website, if you want to go onto Facebook, it's called, well, just go search for Skynet. And there'll be some Skynets up, but this will be like astronomical, ham radio astronomical. And then usually one of the guys runs a YouTube stream, but he's down at that TechNet on the hill tonight, so he probably won't be running his stream. But at any rate, they'll have discuss the constellation of the week and, all that kinds of stuff. So, yeah, check in. We'd love to see you there, John. VE1J, Mike Bravo, Kilo Golf 5, Papa.
Roger that. I'll check out the Facebook page. I'm just logging in now.
There's also the W5FC.org, which is this repeater, Whiskey 5, Fox Charlie, W5FC org webpage, which is run by the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. And they have some information out there too, if you need a link to it. So, yeah, see you then. KG5P, clear.
I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin tonight's Skynet? Let me try again. This is Kilo Echo 5, India, Charlie X-Ray. My name's Tom. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. It's dog approved, too. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign, break, break, and the call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? Please come now. It's a directed net, so please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmission. This weekly net operates on this frequency, which is, in case you don't know, 146.880 megahertz with a tail tone of 1/10 decimal niner. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to W5FC.org right now for a complete list. And please remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur radio operators are welcome, and you need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is structured in several parts and is 90 minutes long. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, what you can see in the sky tonight, a featured constellation, recent astronomical discoveries, space exploration and space history, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and the 73 round. Now, because of time, we may or may not get to every one of those sections, but we'll try to do most of them. Let's go ahead and start with low power, short time check-ins. If you're one of those, please come down with your call sign name. Let me know where you're transmitting from and which of those two things you are. Please go ahead. Low power, short time. Okie, none. We'll go ahead and go to general check-ins. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Papa, Mike in Richardson.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Echo India Uniform, David, back home in St. Paul. This is Kilo Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, also back home, Farms Ranch. This is
Charlie 5 Oscar Zulu Tango, Carolyn in Louisville.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Foxtrot Romeo Tango, Dennis in Capel.
This is
Bravo 5 Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto.
This is November 5 Alpha Bravo Alpha, Andre in Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5 Oscar Foxtrot Victor, Mike in Murphy.
Alpha Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel, Robert Richards.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Kilo 5 Juliet Delta Whiskey, John in Dallas.
Let's hold up there. I'm getting writer's cramp. Let me start at the top. I've got KG5P, Mike in Richardson. KG5EIU, David in St. Paul. Good to see you today. KF5 ZBO, Mr. Bill and Prez, Farmers Branch. Good seeing you. KC50ZT, Miss Carolyn, my neighbor in Louisville. KF5FRT, Dennis. Haven't heard you in a while. In Capel, WB50ZL, Miss Brenda, queen of all the air shows in DeSoto. N5ABA, Andre in Dallas. I will cherish the lens until you want it back. KG5OF Victor, OFV, Mike and Murphy. AA5AH, Robert in Richardson. KG5W Victor Lima, James in Carrollton. K5JDW, John the man on the Flying Dutchman between Oklahoma City and Dallas in Dallas this evening. Any additional check-ins over there? I'll get to Echolink in a minute. Please come now.
G5, Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Dallas. Number Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Alpha 5, Papa India Papa, Analyst Bill in Dallas, Richardson, sorry.
Let me get those three. I got W5EVB, David in Dallas. Good seeing you. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. Good seeing you. Great presentation, by the way. KA5PIP, Bill in Richardson. All right, I'm going to run over to Echolink here. We have a number of check-ins. I'll go ahead and ask if you're on Echolink, if you'd like to come either by voice or by the chat window. Do either. I will give you extra time if you want to go by voice. Echolink, please come with your call sign name and where you're transmitting from.
This is Victor Echo 1, Julia Mike Bravo, coming from Nova Scotia, Canada. Victor Echo 1, Julia Mike Bravo.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Charlie Tango, David in Frisco.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jay, near Weatherford.
Let me get those three. I got Victor Echo 1, Juliet Mike Bravo, John in Nova Scotia, Canada. John, I got you. I see also over on the Facebook stream. KG5ZC Tango, that's David in Frisco. KG5BZW, J near Weatherford, not in Weatherford, but near Weatherford. All right, I'll open it up to anybody who would like to check in any mode. Please come with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from.
N5, BB. Bill just made it back to Irving.
Kilo Echo 5, November Uniform Bravo, KE5NUB, Keith from South Garland.
November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William and Alan.
Let me get those 3 check-ins. I've got N5BB, Mr. Bill. He says he's from Earth. I know he lives out in Irving somewhere. Thanks for great presentation, by the way. KE5NUB, Keith in South Garland. Thanks for listening to me talk endlessly to you, Keith. N5WOI, William in Allen. Anyone else before we get started? We'll just go ahead and get going. 21 check-ins on the first round. So that's pretty good. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? They can be of ham, astronomical, space, or interest to licensed hams. Please come out. E5NUB. Keith, go ahead.
Good evening, Tom, everyone on the net. I'd like to invite anyone that likes you to come out and join the Ham Association in Mesquite at their last ham radio in the park for the year. The City Lake Park Pavilion from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. Like I said, City Lake Park just off of downtown Mesquite. And I don't have a calendar right in front of me, but it's Saturday, weekend of the 20th. I'll have more information on the net later in the week. Back to net, KE5NUB.
Good. Thank you, Keith. Does anyone need any fills? Right, I will go through our regular announcements that we have. Don't forget the AMSAT net. That's the radio amateur satellite group, which has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m., and you'll need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, there's a live audio link available on their website, which is amsatnet.com, and just look for the hot link, and it will take you to the audio. Also, on Wednesday evenings at 9 o'clock, the Dallas AMSAT group has its own local net on the Arlington repeater, which is 147.140 megahertz with a field tone of 110.9 with a positive offset. Remember, too, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club has a bunch of nets. I know there's a few new people listening in this evening, so I will go through them quickly. We have a rotating set of nets on Monday evenings at 7 o'clock. On the first week, we have Ham Fixin's net, where you can trade your cooking recipes as well as favorite foods. That runs from 7 to 8 o'clock. The second week from 7 to 8 is MCOM 101, learn about emergency communications. You do not need to be a member of any emergency communications group. If you're just interested in finding out about it, or CERT, or any of the other locally served agencies in the area with a ham radio slant, then come to this net from 7 until 8. Third week, we have a second helping of Ham Fixins. And then on the fourth week, we have GeekNet. GeekNet is the nerdy net where you talk about computers, radios, of course, and much more. And then we have a fifth week net, which is the surprise net. Who knows what that will be? We've done fishing nets. We've done Truth or Dare. We have done Jeopardy. We have done, gosh, I don't know, a bunch of stuff. Oh, we've created our own stories online. From all of the great writers who are naturally amateur radio operators as well. So come to these nets. They're always from 7 until 8 on Monday evenings. On Wednesdays, we have Veterans Net, which is the first and third week from 7 to 8 o'clock. Has a military slant to it. You don't need to be a veteran, but if you would like to bring stories or stories of pertinence to military personnel or veterans, this is a great net. Saturdays is the night of nets, which is TechNet from 7 to 8 o'clock. From 9 until 10:30 is Skynet, which is what you're listening to now. And from 10:30 until about 12 o'clock at night, or until we start falling asleep, the Afterglow movie net, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And then don't forget, 7 days a week we host the ARRL National Traffic System Trading Net from 6:30 until 7 o'clock. Learn to handle formalized traffic or just listen in and hear how the amateur professionals or professional amateurs do it. Everyone is allowed to check in on that net as well from 6:30 until 7. Info on tonight's Afterglow movie net. I live for this each week. Now listen carefully. First came Hal Roach Jr.'s Starship Invasions. Then came Bronson. And after that, ITC television from Britain with puppets. And finally, the capstone motion picture of all time, the one, the only, The Shape of Things to Come. The title, loosely based on alphabet, this 1979 movie correctly predicts the Internet, trips to Mars, and our inevitable commanding place in the universe. Oh wait, I lied. It's about ungainly robots and an unemployed Barrymore star in this robot adventure love story. So set your toaster to entertainment. Join us for the next craptacular, The Shape of Things to Come, not the 1939 classic, the 1979 bomb from Canada, tonight at 10:30 p.m. Keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, which is W5FC.org. That's Whiskey 5 Foxtrot Charlie.org. All right, let's see here. Let me skip down to the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. Is there anybody here who would like to talk about that? Please come now. I'll just do a real quickie on this one, just to remind everyone you can find out all about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas and all the things going on there by going to their website, which is texasastro.org. Let's see here. I think I missed the meeting from last night. Okay, I always forget. This is the fourth Saturday. The fourth Friday of the month is the meetings, which begin at 7:30 in the Science Learning Center. That's the SLC building on the campus of University of Texas at Dallas in Richardson. It includes programs presented by members or guest speakers, a slideshow of the current constellation of the month, and occasionally items for sale such as T-shirts, books, and observing aids. And as I said, you can go to texasastro.org for additional information. Let's see. There is a star party. We've had mostly rain, but maybe tonight there's somebody out there. It's the Stars on the Rock Star Party, which is the fourth Saturday. I've not been on my email to see if it's still a go this evening. I know there have been, because of all the rain that we've had, that there's been some issues as far as cancellations in that. But it is at the Shores Park, located at 2358 Shores Boulevard in Rockwall. If you go to the Texas Astronomical Society event calendar, which is at the same website I suggested, just look for calendar, and it will give you the events going on all through the month. Let me go ahead and go to the next section of the net. I will take check-ins just before we begin the discussion topics. So number 3 on the list, National Space Society events and activities. Bill is a member, N5BB. Bill, do you have anything for us this week? N5BB from KE5ICX. Net yours.
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. No, I have nothing new. Sorry, N5BB.
Oh, that's all right. Sometimes that happens. You don't have something going every week. I don't know of any club, well, maybe ours, I don't know, but it's not always an organized something going on every week, every day of the month. All right, I'll go ahead and pause, take additional check-ins before I move to the discussion topic. Anyone else who hasn't joined us but would like to, please come with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo Fox 5, Tango Hotel Bravo, Brent in Henrietta, Texas, via Echolink.
Bravo, number 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
All right, I've got KFITHB, Brent and Henrietta over on Echolink, and Ted, WB4MFI in Dallas and low power. Thanks, guys, for checking in. All right, our discussion topic of the evening, what are we going to talk about? We had to do a little schedule reset here, so I had to come up with something for tonight. And I was thinking, last Saturday evening, I had a chance to meet some astronauts. Several have been to the moon. That was pretty darn cool. Some have flown the X-15. Another has flown the shuttle, the only person to actually manually fly the shuttle. And I was thinking, how do these guys end up as astronauts? Well, in the good old days, they started as pilots and risk takers, but fast thinkers. Some of them were also scientists of sorts. They knew celestial mechanics and the things that were necessary to fly to and through orbit, through Earth orbit, and be able to dock with spacecraft. And of course, to land on the moon required all of the above, as well as to navigate in space. You had to be kind of a high-tech Renaissance man to be able to do all this stuff, plus young enough to handle G-forces and zero-G and all of the things that would happen to your body as you went through space. So I found a discussion of this. It came from space.com from a couple of years ago, but I thought it was kind of nice because it places these things in a perspective. So this is what they had to say, how to become an astronaut. It said, becoming an astronaut doesn't just happen overnight. It takes many years of education and experience to meet the basic qualifications. Many people aren't accepted in on their first try either, requiring them to learn more or be better prepared for the next try. Even then, only a small percentage of applicants become astronaut candidates, making it a hard job to get. Quote, the fact that I applied to become an astronaut 15 times has not been lost on my friends or followers or fans, wrote retired astronaut Clay Anderson in his biography, The Ordinary Spaceman, as quoted in Popular Mechanics. He says, jokes and snide remarks have hinged upon the ugly truth that on 14 of those 15 attempts, I was a complete and abysmal failure. As a matter of fact, there's a NASA public service announcement highlighting how it took me 15 tries. I like to cling to the reality that I can always say better late than never, but at this point, it's all academic. This article focuses on the selection process for NASA, which applies to American citizens. While many of the qualifications can be generalized to astronaut programs in other countries, it's important to note that each space agency has its own selection process. step to being an astronaut is getting relevant experience in school with two main classes of astronaut applicants, military applicants and civilian applicants. Military application procedures vary depending on the branch of the U.S. Armed Forces you are working for, since you apply through your respective branch. Civilians apply to NASA directly. No matter the background, NASA wants its astronauts to have at least a bachelor's degree in engineering, biological science, physical science, or mathematics. The agency maintains a list of exceptions to those degrees, such as geography or aviation management. Many astronauts have a master's degree or even a PhD in their field. Some astronauts, such as Story Musgrave, now retired, has degrees even beyond that. And Story's nuts, but that's another story. While education implies you need some money to make astronaut selection possible, a Forbes article points out that several astronauts received assistance from the military or government programs to pick up qualifications. That could never have afforded the education needed are assisted by government programs, whether they be military, federal, or state, as NASA employee Robert Frost responding to a question on Quora. With that help and working very, very hard, they got educated and got good jobs where they were able to show their candidate capabilities in a way that impressed the Astronaut Selection Committee. Sometimes determination needs a helping hand. It takes more than school to gain a foothold as an astronaut selection candidate. However, NASA wants at least 3 years of related, progressively responsible professional experience, or in the non-military candidates, at least 1,000 hours of pilot in command time in a jet aircraft. Advanced degrees are considered equivalent to this experience, however, with a master's equaling 1 year of experience and a doctorate of 3 years of experience. This is KE5ICX, and you're listening to Skynet. A notable exception to these requirements are teachers who still must have a technical bachelor's degree but can qualify through the act of teaching, even for elementary school children. NASA astronaut candidate must also pass a demanding physical. Among the requirements, 20/20 vision, either naturally or with corrective lenses, blood pressure not more than 140/90 in a sitting position, a height of between 62 and 75 inches. In general, you must be in extremely good shape to be an astronaut, and it's expensive to make an emergency return to Earth in case of any medical emergency in orbit. There are also interviews during the selection process to figure out if a candidate is physically and psychologically able to work as an astronaut. Flexibility, group work skills, and a love of learning are some of the personality traits NASA looks for. Selected, NASA does not consider you to be a full astronaut yet. 2 years of basic training, ahead of which you are considered an astronaut candidate. The candidates receive basic classroom learning about the International Space Station and spaceflight generally. They also become qualified scuba divers, do military water survival training, undergo swimming tests, and are exposed to high and low atmosphere pressures, do flights in the Vomit Comet, and get media and Russian language training, among other things. Graduating, many astronauts are not assigned to flights for years. They will back up other astronauts in orbit through serving as Capcom and mission control, doing simulated spacewalks in the NASA's Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory, and picking up more skills they will need for their time in orbit. They spend time not only at NASA, but also international partners with training facilities, such as Canada, to learn how to operate the station's robotic arm. All astronauts must maintain flight proficiency on the T-38 aircraft, flying a certain number of hours per month. Once an astronaut is selected for flight, the mission training takes another couple of years. They start by reading textbooks and receive classroom training, then do simulation after simulation to learn the stuff for real. Their training takes place all over the world, both individually and with their crewmates. Several full-scale mock-ups of trainers are also used to train astronauts. These mock-ups and trainers are used for onboard systems, orientation, and habitability training. Astronauts practice meal preparation, equipment storage, trash management, use of cameras, and experiment operations. A typical space flight these days for NASA astronauts lasts 6 months on the International Space Station, but some astronauts are now being assigned to year-long flights to learn more about the human body. Science will take up most of the astronauts' time in orbit. It's not my article written by me, but does anyone have any questions or have any comments? Please come now. All right, I had to get a little drink there. It's a lot of talking. I get to do some more. So what can you see in the sky over the next couple of days? I drew this one as well. So let's go ahead and talk about what we have coming up. We have, from earthsky.org, they mention, and you'll see if you go to the web page or watch the stream, we have Cassiopeia that is the first slide that they're showing. It says, tonight, now that the full moon is waning gibbous stage and gone from the sky in the early evening, find the Andromeda Galaxy, the great spiral galaxy next door to the Milky Way. It's the most distant thing you can see with your eye alone. By the way, there's a little bit on that this evening. It's best seen in the evening at this time of the year, assuming you're in the northern hemisphere. Most people find the galaxy by star hopping from the constellation Cassiopeia with a noticeable M or W-shaped pattern on the sky's dome. I learned to find the Andromeda Galaxy by star hopping from the Great Square of Pegasus to the two graceful streams of stars making up the constellation of Andromeda. Look at the chart that I just mentioned, and you'll see both constellations, Cassiopeia and Andromeda, so you can see the galaxy's location with respect to both. Notice that the star Shidar in Cassiopeia, it's the constellation's brightest star, and it points to the galaxy. Okay, yeah, it does. Okay. The Great Square is the next thing you want to look at, and they do show that. The large square pattern of the Great Red Square, the constellation Pegasus. The constellation Andromeda can be seen as two streams of stars extending from one side of the star square, beginning with the star Alpherat. Notice Meroc and Mu Andromedae. An imaginary line is drawn through these two stars and points at the Andromeda Galaxy. Just be aware, bright moonlight or city lights can overwhelm the faint glow of this object. The single most important thing you see to see the galaxy is in a very dark sky. Does the galaxy look like to the eye? And assuming you have a dark sky, it appears as a large fuzzy patch, bigger than a full moon in the sky, but vastly fainter and more subtle. And there's a field of view. I've got the picture. It's almost unnoticeable, but you'll see it as a faint fuzzy object to the far right of the picture. For binocular astronomers, binoculars are always, Binoculars, as always, enhance the view. Binoculars are an excellent choice for beginners to observe the Andromeda Galaxy because they're so easy to point. As you stand beneath a dark sky, locate the galaxy with your eye first, and then slowly bring the binoculars up to your eyes so the galaxy comes into binocular view. If that doesn't work for you, try sweeping the area with your binoculars. Go slowly and be sure your eyes are dark adapted. The galaxy will appear as a fuzzy patch to the eye. It will appear brighter in binoculars. Can you see that the central region is more concentrated? With the eye, or with binoculars, or even with a backyard telescope, the Andromeda Galaxy won't look like the image I'm showing now, the Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer image. But it will be beautiful, and it will take your breath away. It says, I heard that the Andromeda Galaxy will someday collide with ours. Is that still a definite possibility? Well, a definite possibility describes much of what we know or what we think we know about the universe. As for the Andromeda Galaxy and its future collision with our Milky Way, the first attempt to measure the radial velocity of this galaxy, its forward motion or back along our line of sight, was made in 1912. After that, astronomers believed for some decades that the galaxy was approaching at nearly 200 miles per second, but later astronomers disagreed. In May of 2012, NASA astronomers announced that they can now predict the time of this collision of Titan galaxies with certainty. Remember, though, that the Andromeda Galaxy is 2.2 million light years away, with a single light year being almost 10 trillion kilometers. So although it does appear that this galaxy is approaching our Milky Way galaxy, it's nothing to lose sleep over. When will they collide? According to the NASA astronomers, in 2012, it will be 4 billion years from now. A Thursday. When galaxies collide, they don't exactly destroy each other because there's so much more space than stars in our universe. Colliding galaxies pass through each other like ghosts. But colliding galaxies do interact. They say there's a cool video. I don't have this linked in. The night sky as the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies merge. I will definitely check that out later. You can go to sky.org/tonight and find these hot links yourself. So the bottom line is the Andromeda Galaxy, aka M31, will be visible on dark, moonless evenings from now until the beginning of spring. This post tells you how to use Constellation Cassiopeia and Pegasus to find it. Be sure you're looking on a moonless night far from city lights. This galaxy is approaching our Milky Way galaxy across the vastness of space. Astronomers say that 4 billion years from now, on a Thursday, our two galaxies will collide. Right, there's a whole thing for the U.S. Naval Observatory, but I've been talking for quite a while, so I'm going to skip that for this evening. You can go to USNO, and, well, type this in on your favorite search engine, USNO for U.S. Naval Observatory, Sky this week, and you should be able to find it there. I'll tell you what. And this is updated once a week. All right, I'm going to ask for any additional check-ins before we go to our featured constellation this evening. Anyone like to join us who has not done so already, please come now.
Kilo Golf 5, Oscar Charlie, Quebec, Wills Point, Texas.
Quebec, Dallas, Texas.
I got two more. I will ask for names. KG5, Oscar, Charlie, Quebec, and Wills Point. Can I have your name?
The name here is Dwayne. It's KG5OCQ.
Good, thanks, Dwayne, and welcome to the net. Hope you enjoy it. The next station, W6, Echo Sierra, Quebec, over in Dallas. Could I get your name, please?
Sure, the name is Jeff, W6CSQ.
Good, thank you, Jeff, for checking in this evening. I've got Whiskey 6, Echo Sierra, Quebec. All right, let's go ahead and go to Miss Carolyn, KC5OZT. You have something for us on a constellation. Please go ahead. That is yours.
This is KC5OZT, and with all the rain we've been having, we're going to do another fish, Pisces Austrinus. That means southern fish in Latin. And sometimes it's also called Pisces Australis. It's relatively faint, but the brightest star, Fomalhaut, is also one of the brightest stars in the night sky. It is the 60th constellation in size, and it belongs to what's called the Heavenly Waters family of constellations. It has its origins in Babylonian culture, where it was known simply as the fish. It was associated with the myth about the Syrian goddess Atargatis, who fell into a lake near the river Euphrates and was rescued by a large fish. The Greeks knew it as the great fish, and they showed it as swallowing the water poured by the constellation Aquarius, the water bearer. And the two fish represented by the constellation Pisces that we looked at a couple weeks ago were said to be the offspring of the great fish. As I said, the brightest star in this constellation is Fomalhaut, or Alpha. It's magnitude 1.16. It's also the 18th brightest individual star in the night sky. It's a white main sequence Class A star and close, about 25 light years away. It's 16 times more luminous than the sun, and it emits a lot of excess infrared radiation. And this suggests that it has a circumstellar disk in its orbit. Fomalhaut, in fact, is surrounded by several debris disks. Where it got its name, it came from the Arabic word that meant the mouth of the southern fish. It marked the solstice in 2500 BC, and it belongs to a moving group, the Castor moving group. That's a group of bright stars, including Castor and Gemini, and Vega and Lara, and these stars share a common motion through space in the same location of origin. And they think they might be physically associated. Fomalhaut is notable for being the third brightest star that has a confirmed object orbiting it after Pollux and Gemini and our own sun. The first stellar system with an extrasolar object, Fomalhaut B, was imaged at visible wavelengths around the star. Fomalhaut B is an extrasolar planet candidate discovered in just 10 years ago, in 2008. They estimate it orbits every 2,000 years. It also has another name, TW Pisces Austrinus. This is a Fomalhaut B, a star, an orange dwarf star, about 25 light years away. And it's close to Fomalhaut, within a light year. And they think it's the bright star's traveling companion. It's a flare star that exhibits slight variations in brightness over a period of 10.3 days. The average magnitude is about 6.48. And we have a little dwarf Class K star. It goes by the name of HD 216770. It's about magnitude 8, and it's slightly dimmer and cooler than the sun, but it has a planet that was discovered orbiting the star in 2003. It's about 65% of Jupiter's mass and orbits the star every 118 days. It's possible that there is another similar planet orbiting the star every 12 days, but they haven't confirmed it yet. If you like fast-moving stars, we have Lecale 9352. That's magnitude 7. It's the 10th closest star system to the sun. It's only about 10 light years away. You have to have binoculars to see it. It's a Class M star and matches the spectrum of a white dwarf. But it's known for being the fourth. It has the fourth highest known proper motion. If you have equipment, it moves 6.9 arc seconds per year, and was first red dwarf to actually have its angular diameter measured. And we have a couple of nice deep sky objects, and the first one is made up of several. It's called the Hickson Compact Group. And in the photo, there's 3 pictured galaxies. These all have NGC numbers. On the middle left, it's 7173. The middle right is 7174. And then the lower right is 7176. These are part of what's called the, like I said, the Hickson Compact Group 90, named after an astronomer, Paul Hickson. He cataloged these small clusters of galaxies in the 1980s. Of these, 7173 and 7176, that's the middle left and the lower right, they appear to be smooth, normal, elliptical galaxies without much gas and dust. In contrast, though, NGC 7174 is a mangled spiral galaxy barely clinging to independent existence. Is tripped apart by its close neighbors. In fact, the strong tidal interaction surging through the galaxies has dragged a significant number of stars away from their home galaxies, and they're now spread out, forming a luminous component in this group. And 7173 is about magnitude 11.9. 7174, that's the spiral, is about magnitude 12. 7176 is magnitude 11.5. So you will need definitely a telescope. And if you look just north of this trio, there's another member of the group. 7172, a spiral galaxy at magnitude 11. And there's another spiral galaxy, guess what? NGC 7314. And it's classified as what's known as a Seyfert galaxy, or an active galaxy. It's star forming and everything, and it can be seen in a small telescope. So it's worth taking a look at this southern fish. And I think you'll enjoy it, and definitely look for fomalhaut. That's used a lot in navigation. I think I remember reading that it was used for spacecraft navigation. I'm not sure on that, but anyway, it's a fascinating constellation, so take a tour through it and enjoy it. And Tom, I'll turn it back to you. KT50ZT.
Thank you, Ms. Carolyn, and you are correct. It was used on the Apollo program for navigation with the split scanning telescope, which we'll talk about again sometime. It was an interesting topic and is quite fascinating in the world of really not much in the way of computers that were used back to navigate. Let's see here, and this is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight, Skynet. Let's go to Miss Brenda. WB5OZL, what do you have for us this evening for recent astronomical discoveries? Well, we are at least 15 minutes early this evening. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and go to Tony. I think we're going to have a question and answer this evening. So, Tony, NT5TM, are you there? And would you like to give your space exploration? Oh, wait. Brenda says she's here. I've got to back channel these secret bat signals up. She is there. Brenda, WB5OZL, why don't you go ahead with your recent astronomical discoveries?
This is WB5OZL. Sorry about fumbling. I'm a little slow on the uptake and hadn't done my articles punched up yet, so we're ready now. Okay, the first article is Super Flares from Young Red Dwarf Stars in Peril Planets. The word hazmat describes substances that pose a risk to the environment or even to life itself. Imagine the term being applied to entire planets where violent flares from the host may make worlds uninhabitable by affecting their atmospheres. NASA's Hubble Space Telescope is observing such stars through a large program called HAZMAT, Habitable Zones and M-dwarf activity across time. Is the astronomical term for a red dwarf star, the smallest, most abundant, and longest-lived type of star in our galaxy. The HAZMAT program is an ultraviolet survey of red dwarfs at 3 different ages, young, intermediate, and old. Stellar flares from red dwarfs are particularly bright in ultraviolet wavelengths compared with sun-like stars. Hubble's ultraviolet sensitivity makes the telescope very valuable for observing these flares. The flares are believed to be powered by intense magnetic fields that get tangled by the roiling motions of the stellar atmosphere. When the tangling gets too intense, the fields break and reconnect, unleashing tremendous amounts of energy. The team has found that the flares from the youngest red dwarfs that they surveyed, just about 40 million years old, are 100 to 1,000 times more energetic than when the stars were older. This younger age is when terrestrial planets are forming around their stars. Approximately 3/4 of the stars in our galaxy are red dwarfs. Most of the galaxy's habitable zone planets orbiting their stars at a distance where temperatures are moderate enough for liquid water to exist on their surface, likely orbit red dwarfs. In fact, the nearest star to our sun, a red dwarf named Proxima Centauri, has an Earth-sized planet in its habitable zone. However, young dwarfs are active stars producing ultraviolet flares that blast out so much energy that they could influence atmospheric chemistry and possibly strip off the atmospheres of these fledgling planets. The goal of the HAZMAT program is to help understand the habitability of planets around low-mass stars, explained Arizona State University's Eugenia Echolink, the program's principal investigator. These low-mass stars are critically important in understanding planetary atmospheres. The results of the first part of this Hubble program are being published in the Astrophysical Journal. The study examines the flare frequency of 12 young red dwarfs. Getting these data on the young stars has been especially important because the difference in their flare activity is quite large as compared to older stars, said Arizona State University's Park Lloyd, the first author on this paper. The observing program detected one of the most intense stellar flares ever observed in ultraviolet light. Dubbed the HAZ flare, this event was more energetic than the most powerful flare from our sun ever recorded. With the sun, we have 100 years of good observations, Lloyd said, and in that time we've seen one, maybe two flares that have an energy approaching that of the HAZ flare. In a little less than a day's worth of Hubble observations of these young stars, we call it the HAZ flare, which means we're looking at superflares happening every day or even a few times a day. Could superflares of such frequency and intensity bathe young star planets in so much ultraviolet radiation that they forever doom chances of habitability? According to Lloyd, flares like we observed have the capacity to strip away the atmosphere from a planet, but that doesn't necessarily mean doom and gloom for life on the planet. It just might be different life than we imagine, or there might be other processes that could replenish the atmosphere of the planet. It's certainly a harsh environment, but I would hesitate to say that it is a sterile environment. The next part of the HAZMAT study will be to study intermediate-aged red dwarfs that are 650 million years old. Then the oldest red dwarfs will be analyzed and compared with the young and intermediate stars to understand the evolution of the ultraviolet radiation environment of low-mass planets around these low-mass stars. The next article is entitled, All in the Family, Kin of Gravitational Wave Source Discovered. Kilinovae, immense cosmic explosions that produce silver, gold, and platinum, may be more common than thought. On October 16, 2017, an international group of astronomers and physicists excitedly reported the first simultaneous detection of light and gravitational waves from the same source, a merger of two neutron stars. Now, a team that includes several University of Maryland astronomers has identified a direct relative of that historic event. The newly described object, named GRB 150101b, was reported as a gamma-ray burst localized by NASA's Neil Gehrels Swift Observatory in 2015. Follow-up observations by NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory, the Hubble Space Telescope, and the Discovery Channel Telescope suggest that it shares remarkable similarities with the neutron star merger named GW170817, discovered by the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, observed by multiple light-gathering telescopes in 2017. The new study suggests that these two separate objects may, in fact, be directly related. The results were published on October 16, 2018 in the journal Nature Communications. It's a big step to go from one detected object to two, said study lead author Eleonora Troja, an associate research scientist in the UMD Department of Astronomy with a joint appointment at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. Our discovery tells us that events like GW170817 and GRB 150101b could represent a whole new class of erupting objects that turn on and off and might actually be relatively common. Troja and her colleagues suspect that both were produced by the same type of event, a merger of two neutron stars. These catastrophic coalescences each generated a narrow jet or beam of high-energy particles. The jet seeds produced a short, intense gamma ray burst, a powerful flash that lasts only a few seconds. GW170817 also created ripples in space-time called gravitational waves, suggesting this might be a common feature of neutron-star mergers. The mass between these two is striking. Both produced an unusually faint and short-lived gamma ray burst, and both were a source of bright blue optical light and long-lasting X-ray emission. The host galaxies are also remarkably similar based on HST and DCT observations. Both are bright elliptical galaxies with a population of stars a few billion years old that display no evidence of new star formation. We have a case of cosmic lookalikes, says study co-author Jeffrey Ryan, a postdoctoral researcher in the UMD Department of Astronomy and a fellow of the Joint Space Science Institute. They look the same, they act the same, and come from similar neighborhoods, so the simplest explanation is that they are from the same family of objects. In the cases of both of these, the explosion was likely viewed off-axis, that is, with the jet not pointing directly towards Earth. So far, these events are the only two off-axis short GRBs that astronomers have identified. The optical emission from GRB 150101b is largely in the blue portion of the spectrum, providing an important clue that this event is another kilonova, as seen in GW170817. A kilonova is a luminous flash of radioactive light that produces large quantities of important elements like gold, silver, platinum, and uranium. While there were many commonalities between these two, there are two very important differences. One is their location. GW170817 is relatively close, about 130 million light years from Earth, while the other lies about 1.7 billion light years away. The second important difference is that, unlike GW170817, gravitational wave data does not exist for GRB 150101b. Without this information, the team cannot calculate the masses of the two objects that merged. It is possible that the event resulted from the merger of a black hole and a neutron star rather than two neutron stars. Surely it's a matter of time before another event like GW170817 will provide both gravitational wave data and electromagnetic imagery. If the next such observation reveals a merger between a neutron star and a black hole, that would be truly groundbreaking, said study co-author Alexander Kucherev, an associate research scientist in the UMD Department of Astronomy with a joint appointment at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. Our latest observations give us renewed hope that we'll see such an event before too long. This article just goes on and on and on and on, so I'm going to stop there. Both articles are from ScienceDaily.com, and I'm going to turn it back to Ned. This is W5FC.
Good, thank you, Ms. Brenda. This is KE5ICX. Let me go ahead and take additional check-ins before we move on to space exploration and space history. If you'd like to join us, I know some folks over on Echolink. Let me know if you'd like to be a part of the check-ins. I'll take additional check-ins. Please come with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Let's go to Section 8, Space Exploration and Space History. Tony, NT5TM, what do you have for us this evening?
Tom, please imagine I have a better Austrian accent than I really do. It's not a tumor. It's not a volcanic eruption. The ESA's Mars Express orbiter has been photographing an interesting cloud coming from Orissa Mons on Mars. This is a volcano, and it sure does look like a giant plume of smoke. But it's not. This is actually what's known as an orographic cloud. Air passes over a mountain and is lifted up. This cools it and causes condensation. Similar phenomena on Earth produce clouds that look like big flying saucers or long downstream plumes similar to this one here. So it would be exciting if Mars had active geology, but alas, it's not a tumor. I mean, it's not a smoke plume, it's just an orographic cloud. Principal investigator Dr. Alan Stearns from NASA's New Horizons mission has been in the news, confirming to everyone who listened that the probe is ready for its encounter with Ultima Thule. They have had a number of experimental activities going on. They're trying to collect images of Ultima Thule. It really just still looks like a dot among dots. And they've been conducting operational readiness tests, that is, practice flyby encounters, pretending to send commands to the spacecraft, wait a few days, and then begin getting data back. Little is known about this bright reddish Kuiper belt object. What we do know is that everything we find will be new and historic, and it will take a long time to get the data back. At these extreme distances, even the very biggest antennas will take years to relay the gigabytes of data collected from the encounter. A great time at TechNet today, and I really do appreciate all the folks whose hard work made it happen. From Randy getting all the presenters together, and Tom providing hot dogs, and folks cooking and talking and sharing their knowledge. But an important technical advance occurred today. The Hubble Space Telescope resumed science operations in the early hours of this morning, about 2:10 Eastern Daylight Time. Officials have confirmed that all three gyroscopes that are supposed to be working are in fact working in the proper fashion, or at least they're returning good data. That helps Hubble point itself. It's easy to say that Hubble just kind of was jiggled, or they turned the gyroscope off and on to reboot it, but the process was actually more complicated. They had to vary the speed of the gyroscope and move the telescope in precisely defined ways that they thought would clear obstructions from the inside of the gyroscope. We've had a great weekend in space history, space news, and an interesting week in space history. There were no good birthdays this week, but in 1897, on October 21st, the Yerkes Observatory in northern Wisconsin was founded. This contains the largest refracting telescope in the world. Now, what's also interesting in space anniversaries is that this same telescope ceased science operations on October 1st of this month. Public outreach activities and science operations at the observatory ceased after more than a century. Researchers can still view the historic collection of glass plates, but no one knows what will happen to the observatory or the telescope. In 1968, on October 22nd, Apollo 7 returned to Earth. We've talked about this site, and you can see the capsule over at the Frontiers of Flight Museum. Unlike the astronauts from Apollo 11, the Apollo 7 astronauts really did carry dangerous germs back to Earth. October 22nd, 2008, India's first lunar probe was launched. I just don't know how to pronounce this word. Something like Chandrayaan-1. It was a lunar orbiter, not a lander, containing scientific instruments, and it marked an important milestone in the Indian space program. It's tempting to look back on the NASA's lunar activities and think, oh, this is so easy. But in fact, Almost all of NASA's early attempts to reach the moon, along with those of the U.S. Air Force, failed horribly. So just getting there is an important step in developing space technology. Get to the big event for this week, a little out of order, so I hope Tom is listening and watching closely. I'm going to go out of order here, Tom, based on the script I sent you. On October 24th, 1998, NASA launched its Deep Space One probe. This probe was a project to experiment with ion engines and autonomous navigation using celestial sightings and onboard software. Deep Space One launched on October 24th, 1998, and was an outstanding success. It paved the way for such awesome things as the Dawn mission to Ceres and Vesta. This is NT5TM. On October 24th, 2007, China's first lunar probe, Chang'e-1, was also launched, named for the goddess of the moon in Chinese mythology. Chang'e-1 obtained three-dimensional images of the lunar surface, mapped the abundance of chemical elements, and was a great rehearsal. As I mentioned earlier, even getting to the moon is hard. Well, because space is hard in general. So practicing planning a mission, controlling the mission, accurate tracking, collecting the telemetry, and knowing where on the moon the data came from were all important milestones of this probe. And now comes the big one. The one with fire, the one with bloodshed, the one with disaster and suffering, the Magellan disaster. October 24th, 1960, the most fatal and destructive thing to happen in the history of space exploration took place. Well, it wasn't exactly space exploration, although it involved a lot of engineers and scientists who were part of the Soviet space program. The Soviet Union was in a big rush. Its early R-7 ICBM, the one that launched Yuri Gagarin into space later, was big and heavy. It took a huge crew weeks to get it ready for flight. That's hardly a good topic for a weapon. They wanted a new rocket, one that could be stored, fueled, in a silo, ready to go, one that would have important things like sensors and switches and computers and could be launched at the push of a button. This was to have been the Soviet R-16 ICBM. Fortunately, the complicated wiring and command sequencing needed to launch this multi-stage rocket with toxic hypergolic propellants, that is, things that just explode when they touch each other, was beyond the Soviet industry of 1916. The rocket was leaking propellants, and more technicians swarmed to the pad to try to fix these leaks. More and more senior officials came to supervise, or appear to supervise, the technicians, and to urge them onward. The chief of the Soviet rocket forces, Marshal Nedelin, even set up a canvas director's chair on the launch pad next to the fully fueled rocket so that he could shout commands and urge the technicians to work faster. He famously accused one of the Soviet Union's leading engine designers, who had told him to take the rocket down and defuel it. Well, if you're a coward, then leave. This was Mr. Yangel. Because when you have hundreds of technicians swarming around a fully fueled rocket and officers screaming at them, the end result is that the quality control problems and miswired switches end up producing a cataclysmic explosion. Mikhail Yangel lived because he left. Famous control systems engineer Boris Chertok lived because he happened to be in another building at the time. The Magellan disaster is renowned as one of the biggest whoopsies in the history of spaceflight. It killed at least 74 and possibly as many as 126 Soviet rocket scientists and technicians, and it's a great example of why almost no one is allowed to be anywhere near a fully fueled liquid rocket. When you face inconvenience because roads are blocked off and boaters have to clear a river and no one's allowed to go anywhere near, this disaster is why they go off like bombs if you make the slightest mistake in wiring up the switches. So that was today, or this week, excuse me, in space history, and this is NT5TM.
Thank you very much, Tony. Does anyone need any fills? Have any comments? Please come now.
KG5P, question for Tony.
Ask away. I know Tony has the answer. If he doesn't, well, he knows the answer.
Question for Tony. You said that they don't know what happened to the 40-inch refractor at the Yerkes Observatory. Somebody steal it or something, or what? I mean, it's things 100 feet long. Oh. Yeah, did I miss something there, KG5P?
No, it's still there. It's still there. No one knows what will happen to it. Local business owners have tried to form a plan to keep it operating to promote local tourism, but that costs a lot of money, and it's hard to do good astronomy in very rainy northern Wisconsin. So everyone knows it's still there. As far as I know, it's not damaged. It's just no one knows what will happen to it, what its future will be. NT5TM.
Okay, understood. Well, it's a 40-inch telescope, which is minuscule by today's, standards, but 40 inches for a refractor is large as they can physically build one, because anything larger than that, the lens would sag under its own weight. It was a real work of art by Alvin Clark, and it was a full achromat, so it was a beautiful instrument that I think they'd probably, they haven't used it for research for years, but it would certainly be a good display, for display purposes. Anyway, thanks for clarifying that, KG5P.
Right, very good. Thanks, both. And I thought I heard it disappeared too, so you're not alone on that one, Mike, but maybe I just heard defectively. Let's see, I've got N5IMS, JJ over in Carrollton. He has checked in over on Echolink. Anyone else? Nope, everybody else is asleep over there. Let's see, we're at 10:18. I guess I can give this information. My voice is rested up a little bit. Let me take you through visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. This came in rather in handy. Tom Schuessler, N5HYP, was doing some satellite pass stuff today with two different antennas, two different computers, controlling radios and providing, Doppler shift type information directly, which was pretty cool. One of the things that we've got is heavens-above.com, heavens with a hyphen, above.com. You can go there and get this information automatically without having to add any software. But I think what's interesting here is, let's see, we've got a few passes that are of interest. I have to go directly to the North Korean satellite. That's one of the first in the order of things. We have a couple of passes for them, October 29th. Let's see, that's a couple of days. October 29th, we have a pass, 7.5 magnitude at 1810 local time out of the south, reaches its highest point at 1814 at 55 degrees, and then falls at 1817. Let me look at the little chart here to see what it looks like on the pass. Very good. It's a full pass through Sagittarius, past Saturn, Scotum, Hercules, Draco, and then Ursa Major to the due north. So you can see that one. Minus 7 degree, -7 magnitude is a bit faint, but not impossible. Let's see what else I got here. The second pass they have is on November 2nd. November 2nd pass is 7.2 magnitude, 1806 or 606. Our time reaches its highest point 609 and then falls at 613. See, that one's going to be a partial pass, I think. No, it's a full pass. Virtually the same thing, going through Pavel, Telescopium, Aquila, Lyra, and then Draco and Ursa Minor. So those might be visible. Let's see, the next thing we've got is the Hubble Space Telescope. There's just one pass. A lot of these passes, because of the change in the season and all that, the reflections aren't that great from space. So certain objects just aren't showing up like the International Space Station like you would expect for reflection back down to Earth. So the Hubble Space Telescope, October 28th, coming up, what, tomorrow? Is it? Yeah, tomorrow. October 28th, there's two passes. The best one is 0.8 magnitude at 6:07 local time, reaches its highest point at 6:11, the south-southeast, and then 6:15 out of the east-northeast. Let's see what that looks like. Come on, you can do it, machine. Going absolutely in the opposite direction. Scorpius, Sagittarius, Capricornus, Aquarius, Pegasus goes through that and then disappears into shadow around Triangulum. So not too bad. Passes close by Mars. The last couple of things I've got here, since it was kind of slim pickings this week, is the Invisat visible pass is October 29th is its best pass. 1910 out of the south-southeast reaches its highest point in 1915 and then 1919. I'll skip the constellations on that one. The next one is November 3rd. That's 4.7 magnitude at 20:01 or 8:01 in the evening out of the south-southwest. Whoops. Let's try November 3rd. I think I wrote the wrong thing down. November 3rd, it's 2.9 magnitude. It's at 7:24 in the evening out of the south-southeast. Reaches its high point at 1929 at 89 degrees, or almost directly out of overhead out of the west-southwest. Now this one may be really worth seeing since it is directly overhead and then falls at 1934 or 7:34 in the evening to the north-northwest. So that one should be a pretty good one. Let me pull up the pictorial on that one. Oh yeah, it's straight overhead. Definitely a good pass, maybe worth taking a look at. All right, so that's where I'm going to leave it with that. We can go ahead and do, this is KE5ICX and net control for tonight's Skynet. We had a long day today, well, reasonably long day, with our meeting over at Flagpole Hill for TechNet on the Hill, which we do every year for the last 6 or 7 years now. I think it's its 6th year. Let me go ahead and see. Anybody want to have any comments they want to bring about TechNet on the Hill or anything they would like to discuss about astronomy in general? We'll go ahead and do our very rare but occasionally possible astronomical Q&A or a Q&A about anything that happened today. Anybody have any questions or comments, please come with your call sign. E5NUV. Keith, go ahead.
Tom, y'all may have already covered this. I had to step out of the room a couple of times. The International Space Station, they're broadcasting photos on 145.800. It's a series of 12 different photos that are coming through on slow scan TV this weekend. Back to KE5NUV.
Oh, excellent, Keith. We were talking about this, and you mentioned it. apparently the International Space Station's broadcasting slow scan TV on the 145.800 megahertz frequency, so you may want to check that out. We don't have any visible passes, but you can go ahead and go to heavens-above.com and plug in your longitude and latitude and find out where the International Space Station is without the visible passes. So you may be able to pick this up and be able to get that scan. The frequency is 145.800 megahertz slow scan TV. It's back. It's big. It's cool. Anyone else with any questions?
G5P.
Mike, go ahead.
If you go to nasa.gov/NASA Live, it's not slow scan TV, but it's live. KG5P.
Hey, thanks, Mike. And actually, strangely, probably not so strange for amateur radio types, but sometimes I plug that in and put it on the big screen TV here at home. When nothing else is on, you can always look at Earth from space, from the International Space Station. So it's actually a guilty pleasure. I admitted it over the radio. I'll actually pop that on and let it run for an hour or two or three or whatever, because let's face it, there's nothing on TV. Okay, any final check-ins before we close this down? Any final check-ins? Please come now.
Normal state.
Okay, not too bad though. We had 26 amateurs checking in. Let's see, I acknowledged him. We had 26 hams participating this evening, including myself. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations. 2 volunteered this just today for this and all the DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net, astronomy in general, on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to the club website, which is w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:28 local time. 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And we will be back in about 5 minutes, and we will be talking about the epic film, The Shape of Things to Come. Wait, it's even better than that. The full name is H.G. Wells, possessive, Shape of Things to Come, even though it has no resemblance to the book or anything. At any rate, 5 minutes from now. Be here. No, that won't work either. Be there or be square. 7-3, everybody. Have a good evening.
W5OZL with the Afterglow net, which happens every week, Saturday night at 10:30 after our excellent Skynet, SpaceNet, and we discuss a science fiction movie. And tonight we've reached a new low. The worst movie ever made, I think. Except it has wonderful hair. Big, bouncy, Farrah hair. But other than that, this movie is a turkey. So I am going to make Tom, KE5ICX, give you a synopsis of it. Please go ahead, Tom.
This is KE5ICX, and I had a very long net. I had to do lots of stuff, so this is tiring for me. Let me give you the comments about the film. Is everybody ready? No, you're not. H.G. Wells, possessive H.G. Wells, because Wells is the name, so you got to put the apostrophe afterwards. Probably the most important thing you'll learn about this film. H.G. Wells, The Shape of Things to Come, is a 1979 Canadian science fiction film. And we all know how great Canadian science fiction films actually are. Starship Invasions was one of those fine films. Although credited to and the TV series The Star Lost, look it up. You don't know what you're missing. And if you're lucky, you still won't know what you're missing. Although credited to H.G. Wells, the film takes only its title and some character names from The Shape of Things to Come, Wells' speculative novel from 1933. The film's plot has no relationship to the events of the book. The book predicts events such as the Second World War and the collapse of social order until the world state is formed, whereas the film involves high-tech future involving robots and spaceships. The film was an attempt to capitalize on the popularity of such recent successes as Star Wars, Star Crash, a TV series such as Space, 1999, and Battlestar Galactica, although the film had only a fraction of the production budget for any of these. Amazingly, no matter how bad this film actually is, there's a never-ending plot analysis. So I will only give you the first couple of paragraphs and the famed actors who appeared in this thing. Sometime in the future, Earth is recovering from the robot wars, in quotes, that devastated the planet 7 years earlier. Most of humanity now lives on the moon within a domed city called New Washington. Shouldn't it be New Quebec or New Toronto? Never mind. But their survival depends on an anti-radiation drug called Radic Q2, which is manufactured on the distant planet Delta 3. Who the hell knows where that is? As scheduled, Delta 3 sends a massive cargo ship with a supply of the drug, but the ship crashes into New Washington's dome and causes widespread destruction. Can't make this up. The colony leader, Senator Smedley, played by John Ireland, and science advisor Dr. John Cabell, played by Barry Morris. Yeah, he was the police guy in The Fugitive. Try to contact Nikki, not anybody else, Nikki, played by Carol Lindley, the leader of Delta 3, but instead hear from Olmus, played by Jack Palance, the robot master, Cabal's former apprentice and newly self-proclaimed emperor of the world. Of the world, why not the universe? Olmus states that the crash was a deliberate attack, and he demands the people of New Washington recognize his authority as their leader. He has a cape, by the way, purple one. Or else he will send more ships with an invasion force of robots under his control that look like giant toilet bowl floats. Smedley refuses to give in to Olmus' threats, and Cabal suggests launching this Starstreak against him. An advanced starship made of advanced AMT model kit parts designed for both space exploration and defense of the moon colony, but steadily goes against the plan since the ship has yet to be fully tested. Cable or Cabal or boards the ship anyway and prepares for the launch, during which he accidentally exposes himself to a dose of deadly radiation, which mercifully will kill him earlier rather than late, while in the reactor room. At this point, the script, and I will do this with my Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea, when the script know where to go, at this point, everyone falls into a confused slumber, at which point you wake up and the credits have played with the wonderfully inadequate music played by the Toronto Pops Orchestra. And with that, I return this net to net control. This is KE5ICX and all the ships at sea.
I can't follow that. Goodness gracious, that's funny. All right, we're going to take check-ins if anybody's going to be here at all. And I wouldn't blame you if you ran for the exit. But let's start with short time and low power check-ins. Please come now. Your call sign phonetically, your name, and your QTH. Please come now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony, low power portable in Dallas. I did not see the movie, I'll just be listening. I tried reading the book, and actually the book is terrible. NT5TM.
Gee Wells, how can it be terrible? Okay, NT5TM. Any other short time, low power?
Hi, Royce in North Dallas. I saw that movie, wasn't it made in the 30s? It was terrible then, too.
5AXY. Yes, but the one we watched was made in 1979, when we were all just mere children. And it looks like a 70s made-for-TV movie, frankly, a really bad one. All right, general check-ins. Please come down to also add whether or not you saw the movie.
Kilo Golf 5, Zulu, November, Juliet, Frank in Flower Mound, and regrettably, I saw the movie.
Golf 5, Papa, Mike and Richardson. I saw the movie, but I want the hour and a half of my life back.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Sir Kilo, Burl in Dallas. I did see the movie.
Charlie 5, Oscar Zulu Tango, Carolyn in Louisville, and maybe I was lucky I couldn't get it to play on my computer, so I didn't see it. KT50ZT.
T5, Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Dallas. Yes, I saw the movie.
Echo 5, India, Charlie, X-Ray, Tom in Louisville, and regrettably, I saw this movie. Who finds these things?
Go 5, Papa Mike, November, James, Fort Worth. I saw about half the movie.
Okay, let's pick this up. KG5 ZNJ, Frank. You saw the movie. KG5P Mike saw it once it's hour and a half back. I want my 3 hours back. Because I think it took up more than that, more of my time. Took up space in my head. KF5TSK Burl did see the movie. KC5OZT Carolyn happily didn't. W5EBB David, yes. KG5BZWJ, and you're breaking up, so I don't know whether you saw the movie or not, but we'll call on you anyway. KE5ICX Tom, who watched it twice. KG5PM James, who saw half of it. Okay, any more check-ins? Or let's go with Echolink. We'll give you a few extra minutes. Heard? Okay, any other check-ins of any mode, please come now. Okay, let's start at the top. We're going to talk about the non-existent plot. NT5TM, Tony, you didn't see it, but do you want to talk about unplots or something? Go ahead.
Sure. I don't know if I'll have further comments. I might check in the 73 round, but I was pretty sure this movie was going to be a clunker, so I tried reading the book, which is available online for free, and I forgot that although H.G. Wells is a writer and journalist, he was also a politician, and the book is a really bizarre political tract. For example, it's about, scientists of prophecy of the future, and this prophecy is strangely accurate. For example, he predicts that big air raids that blow up religion's holy sites, Mecca and Rome and so forth, will just automatically make everyone on Earth stop believing in religion. And the rest of the plot is about as believable as that. I couldn't make it through it. So H.G. Wells is a great writer, but the plot of the book is awful. So I'm actually not surprised they ignored it when making a movie. I would have too. I'll probably just save any further comments for the end of the net. But thank you for calling on me. NT5TM.
Right. KE, can't read it. I think it's KE58XY, Royce. Did I get that right? No answer. We'll come back to him later. KG5ZNJ. Frank, you saw the movie. Please give us some enlightenment.
KG5ZNJ here. It's a little hard for me. I'm actually Canadian, and I have a few things to apologize for, I guess. We screwed up bacon pretty good, so I'm sorry about that. And clearly we screwed up science fiction films too, so on behalf of my country, I'm very ashamed and I apologize. I like the mention of the Star Lost. That was a TV show I grew up watching when it was coming out live on TV every Saturday morning, and that is a gem, and a little better than this movie. What can I say? I mean, the 70s Home Depot robots, not robots, robots were kind of fun. It had moon bases. It had Z80-based microcomputers with integrated CRT terminals and VAX mini-computers. That was fun. Had jumpsuits, moon boots, Mylar spacesuits, Charlie's Angels hair. New Washington. Well, it should have been New Ottawa, but oh, good boy, one Washington's enough, but it is what it is. And I really liked the scene where they had the Iron Age weapons and the garbage can lids, and they used karate. to raid a futuristic robot moon base. I guess they don't have futuristic weapons in the future. Barry had his children working for him, so the future's got a place for nepotism, obviously, and the plot sucked and it was ghastly, and that's all I have to say about that. Back to net control.
Okay. If you're watching the stream, you'll see that Tom is dying laughing. You're really, really funny. And you know, I'm a Texan, and we should be apologizing for an awful lot, but we don't. So, okay, next, KG5P, Mike. You saw it. Please give us your comments.
Okay, KG5P here. Well, the plot was vacuous. That was to say it was vacuum-like or almost non-existent. It looked like sort of an amalgam of about 5 or 6 other different pieces that had come before it. First of all, it was a Star Wars ripoff, I guess, made shortly after Star Wars, including the intro crawl with its years. I said it was probably about 4 other plots that they stole from. If H.G. Wells were alive, he'd be rolling over in his grave. An old-time radio show called Tom Corbett's Space Cadet, and it was basically they had to go out and find this stuff from this other planet that would cure all these diseases and things, so that was part of it. It looks like a workover of the robot from Lost in Space. Was the Lost in Space robot, I forget his name, but he was about 4 feet tall, so I guess he fit into it pretty well. The big hair, the big hair, even the men, even Morris had big hair, all 3 of them. It was a pretty pitiful end of these well-known and very good character actors' careers. Palance looked like a warmed-over version of Green with all that bling and those stupid medals and cape and all that stuff that he had. Yeah, it was pretty bad, I thought. The plot, I didn't think I would finish it, but I did it in pieces, so I could always swallow a mouthful of Pepto-Bismol in between. I got more later, but I guess that's enough for now. Back to net KG5P.
Alrighty, Burl, KF5TSK, it's your turn.
That's KF5TSK. Well, plot? What plot? It didn't seem like it had anything. There was, we're going to take off in a ship that we haven't finished, has no weapons, and we're going to go save the world. Nothing really made sense. That, you go through a time dilation, and all it does is throw everybody in the ship around, and you lose control, and you have a robot. He doesn't really have fingers, but he's able to punch buttons and guide and navigate the ship. Nothing about it really made any sense. KF5TSK, back to that.
Okay, KC5OZT Carolyn, I know you didn't see it, but do you have any comments?
No, not really. I'm just listening. I may have a comment at the end of the net, KC5OZT.
Very well. W5EBB David, go ahead.
Anything that Canada did wrong, they're completely exonerated by French fries with gravy. That is utter genius. Poutine, is that how you say it? I don't know. My French is no too good. So this movie, well, I knew it was going to be a craptacular movie from the opening crawl in unspacey white 2D sans serif font. I think we're all on the same frequency here because, well, literally and figuratively. I noted the misspellings in that crawl. Man has moved on to the moon, colonized its surface, and erected vast cities in what was once wasteland. Onto is shown as one word, moved onto the moon, when it really in this context should be separate words, moved on from the Earth, moved on to the moon. The colonists who started, from Earth moved on to the moon. Okay, enough of that. The colonized is spelled with an S, as shown in the crawl, when it should be a Z, unless you're British or maybe Canadian. The contraction for it is IT apostrophe S, colonized its surface, IT apostrophe S. Colonized it is surface. No. They meant the possessive form, which is simply its with no apostrophe. One sentence, 3 errors. Okay, they didn't have spell checkers or Grammarly back in 1979, but they did have editors, just not for this movie. But some of the plot just obviously didn't make sense. The moon colonists appeared to have tamed its robots that caused so much destruction to the Earth and its inhabitants, though it is troubling that they still rely on and defer to their central computer, Lomax, for their highest level of decision-making. And they actually use one of the robots, the robot that, crashed into the dome, as an ally just by switching out a module. That's all you need to do. Turn the evil robot into a good robot. The cargo ship attacked, smashed that hole in the dome. The moon base immediately deployed spaceships or spacecraft to repair the hole in the firmament, spewing some sort of self-repairing nano-smart patch chemical matrix in their contrails to reconstruct and seal the dome. So now we know what that's all about. Oh, incidentally, nano-smart patch is a registered trademark of Ronco. On their way to Delta 3 in the Silver Stream, Silver Streak, Sky Streak, Star Streak, whatever it was, their Spectrum Drive gyro failed, and the only place to repair it was the Earth. So they land on Earth and find a Radio Shack, which should have lots of tools and electronic components for repairing the drive, but apparently they didn't find any. Maybe this was one of the stores that closed down. They do immediately violate one of the rules from Ham Radio 101. If someone goes up to inspect a radio tower, you don't then start flipping switches trying to turn on the power supplies, amplifiers, and radios. But they soon make a shocking discovery of a different kind. That the Earth was still inhabited, but not by killer robots or mutated zombies, but by children. And unless I missed something in the plot, which is entirely possible, they stopped on Earth in order to repair the Spectrum Drive. But did they ever actually do anything to fix it? It seems like they just took off. And just before they did, they assured the children that they found that they would return for them. But they never did they? And that was kind of rude. W5EBB.
Oh, yes, children in ghillie suits. That, to me, was the low point in the movie. Okay, KT5BZWJ, go ahead.
All right, is it better now?
Yes, that is. Go ahead.
First time I tried to watch it, I went to sleep. Second time I tried to watch it, I was still sleepy, I guess, or there's just nothing to keep me going at. And at first, I
when I actually had gone to sleep, or almost went to sleep, I was kind of jarred by the fact that we're now in tunnels, and what happened? And then I watched it, and yeah, they don't really explain that. It's just kind of like a hop from one place to another without really any. Well, there's the one very odd goal that, I mean, I don't know. There's not really much you could do to save the film. It has some interesting characters, but that's about it. Oh yeah, this might be one of the few films I've ever seen where letting the magic smoke out is actually supposedly a fix for electronics. That's kind of weird. But there's not much I can really say about the film. I barely do pay attention to it. Part of that was just, need to sleep, but it's just not. I mean, the bad guys, you don't not, present. It just doesn't make sense, damn it. DARC.
I didn't hear you sign out. Were you finished? KG5BGW?
Well, I just finished my transmission with my call sign, KG5BGW.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. KE5ICX Tom. I know you never have opinions. Go ahead.
I wanted so much to love this film. It was in color. It had music at the beginning. It has sans something font at the beginning. Sure, it had spelling errors. Sure, people are going to pick it apart because they had $4.58 in Canadian money to make this movie, and it had robots. Not to mention acting geniuses like Barry Morris, the guy who chased after the other guy in The Fugitive, a very popular TV series in the 60s, both in black and white and color. Not to mention Jack Palance, the greatest guy in a cape who could exercise. And I don't know too many people in capes who can exercise. Let that sink in for a second. Music was and important and made this movie into more than it might have been, or could have been, or should have been. It doesn't matter. It was done by H.G. Wells, possessive, and brought the moon and Earth together in ways that nobody could have ever thought. The children of Earth. And the boring people on the moon brought together, and then we dumped the kids on Earth anyway and went back into space and that, whatever that thing was. And the ominous ending suggested as the camera moved away from the Earth and into deep space, compliments of some sort of Christmas lights, made this movie think further that there could have been a sequel. Above and Beyond as well. Lomax, the computer. I think that's a thoughtful look at our emerging technologies such as Betamax, the prevailing video recording system, even today. This is 1981, right? For a while, people pick it apart because of spelling errors in the opening crawl that they couldn't even do in 3D, but it was still an opening crawl with that cool sans serif font thing in white. And it had robots that looked like plungers. I don't see how anybody could not love this movie. And it was done at a fraction of the cost, a fraction of the cost of Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars and Star Trek, I think, came out that same year, maybe a few months later. Star Trek, the motion picture, the greatest science fiction movie ever made without a script. So I'm going to stop here and let others think about what I said. This is KE5ICX in Louisville.
KG5PM. James, you saw half of it. Would you like to give us your opinion on that half?
Go 5 Papa Mike, November, James over in Fort Worth. Yes, from what I saw of it, I almost had Carolyn's problem and couldn't get it to even load up, but it seemed like after a couple hours I finally found a program to load it up. It probably didn't take nearly that long, but it's just real frustrating to get this one to load and view the movie before it locked up on me. I thought it was more of a poor Star Trek. The robot, I guess the new Washington kind of reminded me of Spock, the way it acted. And then the lady was kind of a Captain Kirk, and don't know if there was Dr. McCoy in there or not anywhere, but and then the control center layout in there was, it kind of reminded me of a Star Trek, or Star Trek without some of the more fancier computer stuff, and couldn't really understand the fighting when they landed. I guess it was on Earth, or I don't know if it was that planet where the vaccine was made, and they kind of did that mock fighting before they went in the cave or the mine or whatever they went into. KG5PM in, back to the net.
All right, thanks. Okay, yeah, ditto for what everybody said. Maybe I was just stupid because I couldn't understand it, but apparently nobody else could either. And I'm still going back to those children just squatting in the weeds hiding from what? I don't know. And they all seem to be the same age, and there weren't very many of them, and they didn't ever tell us what they were eating or drinking or how they kept safe from predators or anything like that. They were just there living out in the weeds, and that to me made no sense whatsoever, and they should have taken them with them. They should have made room and taken them back, but that's just me. I did like the hair, that bouncy, flouncy, shiny, poofy Farrah Fawcett hair that just, I wanted my hair to do like that back in 1979, and it wouldn't, and I don't know why. But they had it. Maybe it's different in Canada. I don't know. And the costumes were a little strange, but they were tight-fitting and cool-looking, and so most everybody in the thing was attractive. So that's a plus. We get to look at all these pretty people. Never mind, they're dumb as stumps, but that's okay, as long as they're pretty. So, I have a theory that the name of H.G. Wells just kind of came up and they slapped it in the movie. There wasn't really any connection between that movie and him. It would be so much fun if we could invent time travel and take it back and show it to him and see what he says. All right, do we have any more check-ins? This is WB50ZL.
Oh, Foxtrot 5, India, Victor, Juliet, Mobile.
I'm sorry, come back again and with your name, please.
Oh, Foxtrot 5, India, Victor, Juliet, Justin.
All righty, KF5IVJ. Justin, did you see this movie?
Yeah, I did this time.
I see. Well, do you have any comments anyway?
Thanks, KF5IVJ.
All right. Well, let's start back at the top. Let's talk about characterization. And let's see. NT5TM Tony didn't see the movie, but do you have something to say? To death, KE5AXY. Royce, do you have anything to add? KG5ZNJ. Frank, do you have some comments?
KG5ZNJ. Yeah, I got a few, I guess. You know, this movie reminded me that growing up that in Canada that, drug offenses were historically never enforced, and it was pretty evident in that film that that's the case. And it reminded me why I left Canada and moved to Texas. It really did. It made me feel good about where I am today. As for the characters, well, let me see. Jack Palance. I don't think I've seen him since Ripley's Believe It or Not, if you remember that show. And he reminded me a lot of, who was it in Battlestar Galactica, the bad guy? Was it Balthar? It kind of reminded me of that. I liked Sparks, the suicidal robot. He reminded me very much of another Canadian robot that made recent news, and that was Hitchbot, which was a robot made, I think it was in Ryerson University in Canada, where they made this robot that was self-powering and had a little bit of artificial intelligence and could check in at home wirelessly if there was free Wi-Fi. And they let him loose as a hitchhiker, and people brought him all over the place, and he crossed the border and made it to the U.S., and people took him to ball games and posed with him and would abandon him, and then somebody else would pick him up, and, the robot would tell him, I'm hitchhiking across the U.S., and he ended up in Philly and got mugged and got completely trashed and destroyed. So that was kind of how I felt about Sparks the robot. Other than that, Nikki the governor, she was punching far above her weight, kind of like Justin Trudeau. And that's all I have to say. Back to net control.
It's a sad story about the hitchhiking robot, but what a metaphor for life. My goodness. Okay, KG5P Mike, you're up.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. KG5P. I was writing some notes down here. These may not all have to do with characterization, but one thing that really bothered me was that they went into this magnetic storm and they all got really weird, like maybe time dilation. No, that's not what time dilation is. If there were time dilation, it'd be relative to some other space-time frame. You know, if you were in time dilation, you'd never know because you'd have to know what was going on somewhere else. That'd be relative to some other time frame. That's why they call it the theory of relativity. Yeah, I mean, maybe Canadians are as bad at science as Americans, but I hope not. But if they can slip that in there just so they can have some fancy-sounding names, I fear for this country and Canada. The other thing was when the Jack Palance character killed Dr. Cabal with radiation. All he did was he slipped on that helmet. So I guess whatever radiation it was only attacked your head because he wasn't wearing any other kind of radiation suit. At least if he was, underneath his clothes, he didn't have any gloves on. And when they powered the radiation machine down, they took off the helmet, but it took a while for it to cycle down. But I guess it wasn't putting out any radiation then. Okay, the Lomax voice sort of sounded like HAL 9000. The word Lomax looked kind of familiar, and I looked it up, Wikipedia, to see what it was, and the only thing I could find was some kind of car kit based on the Citroen. And then they kept saying, well, we'll slap in its tapes. Well, I guess back in 1979, that was but they were still using tapes, I guess, in the far distant future when this movie was supposed to have taken place. And the technology never advanced past tapes. But the music was done by a guy named, I can't read my writing, I never could. Homford or something like that. But he also wrote, he was the composer for another movie called Ground Star Conspiracy that you may have heard of. I think I've heard of it. I don't recall ever seeing it. And also another unforgettable movie called Dr. Frankenstein on Campus. Lindley was kind of an airhead. The other movie I remember seeing her in was the Poseidon Adventure that Mad Magazine called the Poop Side Down Adventure. Apparently, David Frost lasted many years on and off, and she was supposed to marry 81-year-old Fred Astaire, of all people. He married Robin Smith, another big hair girl, instead. This character was really pitiful because Jack Palance had been around a long time and he'd been in a lot of movies, and he did, if you ever saw City Slickers, he played the curly character on City Slickers, and he did a very, very good role in that. On that character, so I don't know what happened here. That's the end of my notes. Back to that KG5P.
I had to look this up because I just vaguely remembered Jack Palance got an Oscar for his role as in City Slickers in, hold on, 91. And he showed off his physical fitness at the age of 73 by doing one-armed push-ups on the stage at the Oscars. Pitiful. Okay, KF5TSK, Burl.
This KF5TSK. Well, you know, one of the strangest things was, you know, he was exposed to radiation And the question is, why was he in there taking fuel rods out anyway? And the suit he put on was looks like aluminum foil, and it's like, well, you know, foil will protect from radiation, which is totally nonsense. You know, it's almost like nothing was sealed. Though there was a robot war on Earth, but somehow there was radiation everywhere. How did that happen? KF5TSK back to net.
I'm sorry, I had a distraction here. Did you sign off, Burl? KF5TSK?
I signed off.
Oh, I apologize. KC5OZT Carolyn, do you have any comments?
Yeah, well, somebody else brought up they had the same trouble. The link in the email, when I went to that, for sound and finding music, but no picture. I tried the link in Afterglow on Facebook, and it brought up something called Era 502, which I have no earthly idea what it is. So I went back to the email and tried that link, and this time I got a thing that said site is down for maintenance or something. So, well, that was why I didn't get to see the movie. Of course, hearing about it now, maybe that's okay. KC5OZT.
Okay, W5EBB, go ahead.
Just a quick tip for the movies at archive.org. What I usually do is download them. Archive.org typically has the download option, so you can download the entire movie as a single file, and it's usually under 50 megabytes as the resolution is usually kind of low but watchable if you can navigate, you know, to where the movie actually is. Characters. Jack Palance played a good villain, even without his black shirt and cowboy hat. He overreached his ambitions just a little bit from being an interplanetary drug dealer to aspiring to be the ruler of the universe. And we never learned what that evolutionary advancement he discovered actually was and planned to deploy, whether it was to the detriment or for the benefit of the moon colonists. As Professor Cabal said at the beginning of the movie, our society has no place for a benevolent dictator. But the converse could also be said. A benevolent dictator has no place for our society. A Mr. Space 1999 scientist angrily exclaimed to Omus, "We will never surrender." The full phrase, as Galaxy Quest fans know, is "Never give up, never surrender." Okay. Charlie, is that you? Asks Kim Smedley as she trudges through waves and waves of fair amber blonde grass. Her voluminous hair was blocking a good percentage of her peripheral vision, however, so Charlie might have been right next to her, but she wouldn't have seen him. Shiny, soft, full-bodied, bouncy hair with natural-looking medium auburn number 42 color, which reminds me I don't miss blow dryers, unless I'm compressing a heat shrink. But I do miss the 1970s shampoo commercials. Wet hair, shampoo, rinse, repeat. Don't forget to wet your hair first. It's in the directions. And don't forget the conditioner. Very important. You don't want dry, brittle hair after all that shampooing. Wella Balsam and Gee Your Hair Smells Terrific were no doubt used copiously by the cast, both men and women. But hey, at least they weren't smoking. Not on camera, at least. Tactical advice to the Delta 3 Commando team. the governor in particular, Kiki. High heels are not the preferred military footwear for avoiding detection and maneuvering stealthily inside large rooms with hard floors that tend to echo and reverberate. But from a production point of view, it did obviate the need for a Foley artist. Clack, 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 clack. But the white-painted Chelsea boots worn by stormtroopers in Star Wars were no better. There's a lot of blooper reels that show them slipping and sliding and falling because of their slick soles and heels. Some even made it into the final cut, like the second stormtrooper from the front in the scene, There's One Set for Stun. Watch that, he almost loses it. Incidentally, the Stop That Ship stormtrooper helmet from the original Star Wars sold last year at auction for $228,000, even without the ears. W5EBB.
Who would have thought that in the late 70s? Okay, next, KG5BZWJ.
KG5BZW, I really have nothing to go talk about after that. I don't know, this film, wasn't really think too much about the characters, because the more you thought about stuff, the worse it got. So, a lot of the issues have been pointed out. I'm sure there's others that haven't yet been pointed out, but are waiting to be done. I'm not sure I could say anything about anything, really. In fact, I'm just kind of rambling on here. So I think I'm going to wait until special effects, since there were some special effects in this film. Coming then. This is KG5BZW.
Okay, KE5ICX, you're up.
How the heck I didn't do my homework, so there's full story synopses, character motivations, color coordination, hair tips. How the heck am I going to have to, all right, I'll tell you this. It was a Canadian film. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I did notice this. When Jack Palance, Curly, whatever the name of his character was in this thing, when he put the ultrasonic disco thing into play, he put that helmet on his head. Did you notice, everyone? Especially you Canadian folks out there, it looked like an upside-down pitcher of beer. That's the pitcher. And it had little handles around it that came from littler pitchers of beer. So when you put that on your head, that saves you from whatever is happening in the discotheque. I think there's a song about that, too. I can hear the beat. Yeah, the beat. So yeah, but I did notice that Mike made a comment too, and it was very true. When you turn the disco generator off, and the guy has already died, you should at least wait until it completes its offness. It's still running when they pull the beer pitcher thing off his head, and the guy, the guy with the bouncy hair, he's there, and he's I feel like I'm being sucked into a black hole. He takes it off too early because you got to wait. It's like engines. You got to wait until the engine's completely shut down, or electricity. Some of my students don't do that again. Anyway, you got to wait for the thing to shut down before you can do something. So you got to wait. Keep the beer pitcher on your head. I would recommend a Labatt's beer pitcher myself. Labatt's, one of the finest beers in Canada, and they make great pitchers with Labatt's logos on them. Labatt's Blue, always a favorite. Okay, I'm going to stop now because I'm feeling kind of rumba right now. Back to net control.
Okay, who among us would pour out our beer to put it over our heads, put the pitcher over our heads whenever the disco ball goes bananas? I don't know. That would be a really hard choice, I think. Okay, KG5 PM. James, you're up.
From what I saw in the opening portion of it, I just thought the characters were rather flat. The guy is standing there almost pleading with that one control robot to do something with that ship that's fixing to crash into the New Washington. And I mean, it's almost please do something, but I don't know. I just thought everything was kind of on the flat side for what I saw of action. KG5 PM in, back to the net.
Okay, and KF5IVJ, Justin. You didn't see it, but do you have comments? Do we have any more check-ins? Well, it's after 11:30. I have to get up early in the morning and go work at the air show at Executive Airport. If you're going to the air show, come out and see me. It's going to be a fabulous air show. They've got the B-29 Fifi and a B-17, and Diamond Lil, the B-24, she's not working again, and it's fabulous. So I'm not going to be able to talk all night, but we'll do a call for anybody who wants to talk about anything. Please come now.
KE5ZNJ. KE5ICO.
I was a little slow. The first call. Please come back with it.
KG5ZNJ.
Okay, Frank. KG5ZNJ. What do you have to offer?
I just wanted to say that I think watching this movie actually made me more stupid. Back to net control.
Why? Don't watch it again. Okay, KE5ICX, Tom.
All right, I lived through this time. It was the future, 1979. There was lots of polyester, great hair, the bouncy hair. There was Harvest Gold, which was pretty much on display, and eggshell white. No avocado green, though. No avocado green. Did not see that in the film. If there was shag carpet, it was on the walls. I did see, all right, and Frank can back me up on this, the Expo 67 American Pavilion. That was the New Earth, whatever the name of that was, New York, I don't know. The Ontario. All right, I'm going to give this. The one thing that I love about Canada is the Hockey Night in Canada theme. Dun, 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 dun. Fantastic. And I think they still play it. Having grown up on the other side of the water and knowing that where I lived, Canada, Windsor, was south of Detroit, I know all about Ontario. Well, I know about Windsor. So, it's okay, Frank. I understand. I actually watched guiltily CKLW.
across the water. And that's it from me. This is KE5 ICX and all the ships at sea.
Okay, well, we're going to close this down, and but before we do, Tom, do you have an excellent offering for next week?
Peter Manor is speaking. If you're ready, it will be, we're going back to TV, Space 1999. In the future, the first episode, Breakaway, from 1975. It is available on Crackle or something. I don't know, but it's available for free. I hope everybody can watch it. I will double check it and make sure that it works. We'll find out how the moon broke away on September 14th, 1999. How do I know that? I don't know. Long-term memory, short-term loss of memory. That's it. KE5ICX. And it's available, oh, by the way, I'll say this. It's available on the Afterglow movie page. Afterglow movie, 2 different words, Afterglow and movie. Or if you want to be included in the list but not on Facebook, send an email to KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX at yahoo.com. Tell me who you are, and I will add you to the list, and I will send a link. My apologies, I didn't know. Archive.org changed their setup since the last time I used them, which was a couple of weeks ago, and there's something wrong. So I will double and triple check that stuff next time. That's it from me, KE5ICX.
KG5P, there's another site out there that has just about everything. It's called 123 Videos or something that starts out with 123, and they got about 4 or 5 different servers. And they got just all kinds of stuff out there, and that's where you can usually find these things. Also, the Space 1999, you sure that was 1975? I thought it was on before that, because I sort of remember it being on when I was in college, and that was back in the late 60s, so I'll have to check that. KG5P.
Any other comments from anybody else?
W5EBB.
W5EBB.
Well, I'll have a final comment regarding the movie, but just about the 1, 2, 3 movies. I tried that a couple of years ago, and I wasn't able to. It seemed like it had a lot of ads, and I don't know if it was a secure site, I guess, but I did have a good experience trying to get that to run, and I never really quite got it to run. Maybe they've improved it. Maybe it's better now. We can give it a try. So, yeah, this was a craptacular movie. The shape of things to come, well, they never really revealed a shape. Maybe, not obviously. I was expecting a sphere or a pyramid or some other plutonic solid, maybe the shape of a donut or a honey bun or even a Little Debbie's strawberry roll-up. But maybe the shape wasn't meant to be literal but more figurative, referring to the nature of the character of things to come. The shape perhaps intentionally not well-defined and indeed may have meant to be a bit more nebulous. I don't know. W5EBB.
Yeah, and most stories about the future are fairly dystopian and negative. I'm not quite sure why that is. I looked up Space 1999, and it first aired on September 4th, 1975. So it was the golden age of science fiction. Okay, gonna go. This is WB5OZL clear.
KG5P, one last comment.
KG5P, go ahead.
Okay, I think that the 123 is like 123freemovie.to, which is Tonga or someplace. It had no commercials, and it had about 4 different servers, and if one would require a lot of buffering, you can just pick another one. Stream and Go usually works pretty good, but it's like 123 freemovie.to, KG5P.
Go ahead, W5EBB.
Okay, then disregard what I said because that is a different site than the one I tried. It just had 123. They were probably leveraging that because that was a popular download site at one time, but wasn't very good. But this is a different one, so I retract my earlier comment. W5EBB.
I think we're done. This is WB5OZL, clear.
Brenda, good job with a terrible movie. KG5P, clear.